Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 159 of the All You Can Hear podcast. I'll be your host today, Patrick. And joining me today are my three confined co-hosts.
It's me, Johnny Boy.
It's me, Colt, that feels very cold and tired, and the life is flowing from his body.
It's fraudulent Wenzel.
Oh no!
And today's episode, continuing with our month of movies, we're going to dig a little into our recommendations for while everyone's still at home, still under quarantine, and discuss what the best way to pass the time other than movies. So basically, we'll be going through some of the movies we watched, some movies we could recommend, good, bad, and some very strange movies, for sure. So that'll be on topic for today. And kicking us off on our viewing party, we have Wenzel. Wenzel, why don't you talk about the first movie that's on the docket today?
All right. I would say back around spring break, there was something that has been popping up on my YouTube feed. It's a trailer for a movie, and Colt, we had a get together, and Colt put it up because he was interested in it just as much as I was, and we watched a trailer for it, and I was like, okay, now I have to see it. But then this quarantine happened, pandemic.
Just know this was all before this hit the fan.
Yeah, and
so it was our last get together.
Yeah, it was our last get together. So, but like this all happens, I was like, crap, how am I gonna see this movie? Well, luckily, it came onto streaming services. I think last week, the 1st of May, maybe a little bit sooner than that. And it is the true history of the Kelly Gang. And it's directed by Justin Kurzel, and it says on his Letterboxd page that it originally came out in 2019, but it didn't I guess officially. That's when it was debuted or was shown around with 2019. It didn't actually release or come on a streaming service until this year, and it stars George McKay as Ned Kelly. Ned Kelly is a criminal, an infamous bushranger of Australia. And I'll just read off of the Letterboxd description or short synopsis. But set against the badlands of colonial Australia, where the English rule with a bloody fist and the Irish endure, Ned Kelly discovers he comes from a line of Irish rebels, an uncompromising army of cross-dressing bandits immortalized for terrorizing their oppressors back in Ireland. Nurtured by the notorious bushranger Harry Power and fueled by the unfair arrest of his mother, Kelly recruits a wild bunch of warriors to plot one of the most audacious attacks of anarchy and rebellion the country has ever seen. Now, despite what the title says, this is completely fictional. It is actually based off of a novel, which goes by the same name, True History of the Kelly Gang, that was released in the 2000. And
oh, I thought this was some old story.
It is an old story. Ned Kelly's a real person. The events of him happened back in. He died in 1880. That's when he was executed. And
so the movie's based off a book that's not real, but the book's based off of somebody that's real?
Yes.
Okay.
Ned Kelly was a real person. He was a criminal. He was what was known as an Australian bushranger. Bushranger, my bad. He was an outlaw, gang leader, and he killed policemen. And one of the most famous things that he's known for is he wore a suit of bulletproof armor. You even see that in the trailer, which is what kind of gives him away. And yeah, it's completely fictional. But besides that, I think the film was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. George McKay did a great job playing this character. And I remember it was so many reviews I've seen about the film was that even though it's not actually a true history of the person, it's more of a character study. And I've said that so many times, and I've read that so many times. It's a character study, and I think it is just great. It's just fantastic. George McKay, if anybody remembers, he played I don't remember his rank, but the character Schofield in 1917, which recently came out as well this year.
Another amazing movie, though.
Another amazing movie. It's just great. The movie is also divided up into 3 sections, which are kind of the points of history within Ned Kelly, which is the first being boy, the second being man, and then the third I won't say what that is, but yeah, I would definitely go and watch it. It's really, really freaking good. I can't really think of much else to say other than that. Go watch it.
Yeah, I plan on watching it because that trailer made it look really, really fun.
Yeah, like no, like if you want to go watch the trailer, to get maybe just a taste. It definitely the trailer gives you a little taste of what it's gonna be like. You
It's a
can
lot
rent it.
more fun than you're probably expecting. The trailer makes it look more fun.
Well, I should say the trailer does make it seem really fun, but just know the movie is very, very serious.
Okay.
It definitely has the gore, the violence isn't too over the top, but there is violence, there is blood, there is strong language, there is sexual content as well. It definitely not is a lot, but it's not too over the top. It's really good, and you can actually rent it on Amazon for like $6.99. So
Check it out.
I'm very interested to hear you talk about it because I remember us catching that trailer on our last Banter weekend, and it really caught my eye because it had, like you said, the fella from 1917, and that's the first time I ever saw him in a movie was 1917, and they did a great job there. I'm definitely interested to pick up what he does going forward, and I like Charlie Hunnam as an actor, and I know he's in this movie as well, so it was something on my list. I had actually meant to watch it this week, but I'm glad one of us picked up that ball.
yeah, I kept telling myself I gotta watch. I kept putting it off, and I'm glad I finally sat down and did. It definitely had me hooked. Oh, and another famous actor in it as well, Nicholas Holt is in it.
Okay.
Yeah, he's known for playing the Beast in X-Men, all the newer X-Men movies.
The
he's
weirdest
Pass.
part of the newest X-Men movies. He looks so freaky in those movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was also one of the guys in
Mad Max.
fuck, what's that movie? Mad Max.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was Nux
Oh
in Mad
yeah,
Max.
he was the first guy.
Nux?
Nux.
Yeah, in Mad. Witness
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I told you that, Colt.
I know. I'm just like putting the face to the.
Okay,
movies.
Yeah. And Thomasin McKenzie's in it as well. She has a small part in there. She was the Jewish girl in Jojo Rabbit.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
I didn't realize how old she was. Like, she looked so young in that movie, and then in here, she looked a lot older. But I was like, because there's a very for me, it was kind of a strange part in the movie. I was like, how old is this girl? And she's like, I think she was born in like 2000, so she's like 19 right now, about to be 20 or something. I was like, wow, this is weird.
Yeah, fucking age and time and whatnot. Just the thought of people that are born in 2008 or 12. That shit hurt my head.
Yeah, I feel you.
Next segment belongs to you. You had some Netflix recommendations for us,
Yeah, I'm
correct?
gonna give you the first half. I've got 10 total. I'm gonna give you the first 5 now. I've got some Netflix recommendations that are currently on Netflix at the moment of recording, which is May 9th, 2020. So they should be on Netflix for a little bit of time because some of these have been on Netflix for years at this point. And the first one on the list that I have is The Place Beyond the Pines. I don't know how many people here have seen it. I know Wenzel has.
I think I'm the only one who hasn't seen it.
So,
Lame.
Pat, you were there when we watched it together, right?
No, I haven't seen this, but I know it's been referenced several times in the group.
We've already talked about it a whole bunch, but to give you a little taste, it's about the life of a circus stunt bike guy that is played by Ryan Gosling, who is an angel among men, and he's amazing in this movie as well. He's amazing in all of his roles, but he does the famous quote that I don't know if Tanner's done it on the podcast, but in our group, Tanner likes to scream this quote, which is, "Get out of the fucking ground right now!" It's a very good line. I don't want to say too much about this movie because it's like 30 minutes into the movie, it changes drastically, and I don't want to say anything beyond that point. Like, do you get what I'm saying, Wenzel? Okay, yes. Wenzel gets... Watch Place Beyond the Pines, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's a fantastic movie. I went in knowing absolutely nothing about it, and if you go in knowing absolutely nothing about it, it rewards you. not. I should reward you is kind of like a very vague and ambiguous like term I'm using right now. It's emotional.
It is a very emotional movie. But to get off Place Beyond the Pines, watch it. It's on Netflix. It's been on Netflix for years, so this is one of the movies that I do think will probably be on Netflix till the end of time, till the sun destroys us. Number 2 is a combination of movies, which is Creep 1 and Creep 2, where the main person is played by Mark Duplass, which is another amazing actor, which he'll pop up again in the future. But Creep is about a guy who responds to, I think it's Craigslist, or it's a fictional version of Craigslist, like Tom's List.
Yeah.
And he responds to a Craigslist ad of a guy that says, just be my friend, come be my friend for a day. And he does so, and the person that wanted the friend for a day is a little bit creepier than expected. And that person that put the ad up is Mark Duplass. The person behind the camera, you don't really know. It's a found footage film, by the way. He goes through his antics as time goes on. When you finish Creep 1, I guarantee you'll want to watch Creep 2, because personally, it was one of my favorite watches of, I want to say 2018, because I watched them back to back. It's either late 2018 or early 2019. Very, very good movies. Check those out. Third movie on the list is Paddleton. I'm saying Paddleton, not Paddington, okay?
You mean it's not about the teddy
bear?
bear?
It's not about the teddy bear at all. If you think it's about the teddy bear, you are wrong and sad.
He's not a teddy bear. He's a real bear.
This is the one with Ray Romano.
It's with Ray Romano and Mark Duplass from the Creep movies. It's an insanely sad movie. I'm just going to read the little tidbit that you get from the screen. It says, an unlikely friendship between two misfit neighbors becomes an unexpected emotional journey when the younger man is diagnosed with terminal cancer. I know, it's a bummer. It's a real big bummer.
Yeah, that sounds like it's heavy.
Insanely heavy, because the movie's called Paddleton. The name doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Paddleton is just a game that these two friends played together, probably twice in the whole movie. Over time, just seeing their friendship evolve and like how it plays out in the movie, it's very, very emotional. Watch this. Just watch it if you want to have a sad but a good time. It's a very good. I cried for an hour after watching it.
Yeah, I remember when that movie came out, and it didn't get a lot of buzz, but I remember the people who did see it were like, it is a crime that no one is seeing this movie because it is apparently just that good.
It's real good.
And it's been on my list for a while. I just haven't gotten to it.
And Ray Romano in serious roles is really good. Because whenever I used to see him, I think, wow, it's that comedy man from his famous TV show. Him in serious roles is real good. What was he in Uncut Gems?
No,
he was in
Irishman. That's a serious movie as well. He was good in there.
Which is also on Netflix.
No, Irishman was a comedy.
Yeah, I mean, kinda. Yeah, it was. I'm the Joker, baby. My life's a comedy.
I'm the Joker, baby. Yeah. It was real funny when Robert De Niro tried to beat up that guy.
Yeah. It was. But the fourth...
If you ever want to see an 80-year-old man pretend to be a 50-year-old man and then try to beat a man in the street and then run away, that's a primo scene from The Irishman.
It is a fantastic movie, but God, that scene is fucking goofy.
I will say, as a man that's watched almost all of, what's his name, Scorsese's mafia movies, Irishman is probably the weakest of them. It's still good, but it's what a weaker one. But check it out if you're interested in the mafia movies. That's not on my list, but whatever. Number 4 is The Florida Project. It is another very emotional type movie. It's a movie about a kid. It's from the POV of a child that lives in a hotel or a motel, I can't remember, one of the above, that is right next to Disney World. And during the movie, it's about the child's antics and what she does during the day, which is not the best because they're a very poor family. It's a very sad movie as well. Most of these movies are sad. I watch serious drama movies. That's my thing. But definitely check out Florida Project. Willem Dafoe is a prize from heaven. Him and Mark Duplass and Ryan Gosling, gods. I love them so much.
And the guy who did the Florida Project also directed Tangerine, which I think is still
I
on
think it
Netflix.
is.
I think it is.
But I also really recommend
Yeah.
that. It was a movie. The whole gimmick was it was shot on an iPhone.
Yeah.
And it follows two trans prostitutes, and shit gets crazy.
Yeah, and for my final movie from this segment for now is Cam. It's a movie about a cam girl that runs into some weird events that are a little bit supernatural in a way. And this is another movie that I think that's where I should stop explaining it because it is very, very good. It's a horror movie, by the way. It's a realistic horror movie. You should definitely check it out, and don't let. I know there's some people that are stuck up and just get if there's some kind of weird sexuality thing in the movie that won't watch it. Stuck up people, just check it out. It's real good. I don't have a problem with it, so I ignored it easily. Check it out. Cam's very good.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
Very nice. A very stellar recommendation. If you have the emotional bandwidth, these are all highly recommended and worth your time. As for me, I went down a little bit of a movie hole for this episode.
Yeah, Pat definitely watched the most out of all of us.
My movie hole was actor specific, and I chose Oscar Isaac for my movie hole. So for this, I watched 2 short films that he was in and 2 feature-length films. I will say these are recommended, but for different reasons. They're definitely more so on the bizarre to interesting part of the spectrum. These 2 short films are Lightning Face and Ticky Tacky. And Lightning Face is a short film that Oscar Isaac's in where he's a well-to-do man who's fairly vain, and then one day he's struck by lightning and it hits him in the face appropriately. And so when he comes to, he's covered in blood and he has this griseous scar on the left side of his face, and he just freaks out and just sequesters himself in his apartment for a week. And both of these shorts are on Vimeo for free, and they're both about 15-20 minutes. And with Lightning Face, you just see the daily progression of his sort of slow descent into insanity, because what starts off is he assumes his life is ruined because he's no longer as handsome as he once thought he was, so he's just sort of completely demolishes his living room and just sort of lounges about. And then over the course of it starts to blur a line between reality and sort of insanity, where you have these sequences where he's sort of in space, and apparently the only channel on his TV is just a wallpaper, like a Windows wallpaper of a galaxy, and he sort of fades in and out of that, and he starts to methodically draw lightning bolts on sticky notes and just arrange them around his house. And so it gets to a point where you're not sure if he's going insane, but whether or not this transformation is leading to something bigger.
Yeah.
Because you kind of get the feeling that he actually is developing some sort of ability from it. Because he crafts this suit, and then at the end he sort of makes a decision, and you're sort of left to wonder what he's become at the end of his sort of tenure in the home. And because I didn't know anything about I just saw this on his list of movies and I checked it out, and it is sort of strangely appropriate to what a lot of us are going through, sort of just locked in our homes, either by choice or whatever reason. A lot of the ways just left to stew in our own mind. Of course, it's very fantastical, but it's not dissimilar to what a lot of people are going through. Mm-hmm. So I definitely feel like that's the more straight-laced of the two short films. Ticky Tacky is more on more comedic and more outlandish. Because Ticky Tacky is just where Oscar Isaac plays a very wealthy man, a big, sumptuous library. And he has a attaché that's just a 10-year-old boy in a suit that sort of acts as his muscle.
Okay.
And apparently he discovers that his fiancée is cheating on him with his best friend. So he calls them in and he gives them a very stern ultimatum. The ending of it just has a great sequence of Oscar Isaac in it, because when he just sort of snaps and just sort of goes through his sort of breakdown, and he's sort of this very posh and eloquent man, and all of a sudden he's pointing the gun at him, and then he's pouring gasoline, and then he's trying to shush his secretary, and then he's smoking a cigarette, and it's just you get to see him just go through a range of manic emotions in the span of 15 minutes. So I recommend it just to see how bonkers it is. It's a lot of fun, and both of these short films, I think they're made by the same director. At least have some very crossover actors in it. They're both short, 15, 20 minutes, well made. They both look gorgeous. I think they're worth looking at just to see like a different side of what a well-known actor can do. Now, the next two movies, these are both pre-Star Wars, and the first one is Revenge for Jolly, and I actually found this on Vudu, which is Walmart streaming service.
Wait, what? That's a
Yeah.
Walmart thing? Huh.
Yeah.
Because Walmart has a streaming service called Vudu where you can rent movies, like obviously some of the bigger ones, and you can also find some obscure movies, but just because they're cheaper to license and nobody else has them. So I'm like, okay, let's check this out. So Revenge for Jolly. To put it succinct, this movie tripped and fell down the stairs so John Wick can run. It's very similar in premise to John Wick, because John Wick literally came out the year after. It's about a man. They never said what he does. It's just a criminal line of work. And he runs afoul of somebody for some reason. And then so he, after a wild night of drinking with his cousin, Oscar Isaac, he comes back home to find his beloved miniature pincher dog lynched from the ceiling fan.
What the hell? No!
And it's so jarring because he just stumbles in and he's like, "Hey, Jolly," and he just camera just pans over to like a silhouette of a tiny dog literally strung up by a noose from the ceiling. It's just like, okay. So the big thing to go about into this movie is that it doesn't have an ounce of the sympathetic character or really anything that makes John Wick as strong as it was. It's basically just like it kind of just takes for granted that, oh, someone's dog was killed, so therefore everything they do is now justified. No, it doesn't. None of what this main character does is justified, because literally he's just an asshole who kills everybody. Because there's like 6 set pieces in the movie, and like every single one, he just kills people for no reason because like, I'm mad, bang bang. And Oscar Isaac, he was billed in the movie as like the main character's like unstable cousin, but really Oscar Isaac is the most sane person in the movie, because like every time they go to a different set, Oscar's, hey, maybe we shouldn't kill this guy, and guess what? Fucker kills somebody.
Oscar Isaac.
So they just go through at least 4 different sets where the main character kills people for no reason, all the while trying to find the guy that killed his dog. Like I said, there's just remorse. There's no sympathy. It's just like he's an asshole who wants to marry his dog, as we find out.
Wait,
what?
Because he's just this sad, pathetic loner, and the dog's the only thing he had. Just like, because after they get drunk, hey, Oscar's like, my girlfriend's been talking a lot about marriage. I think we might do it. I really changed my life around. And then the main character is like, yeah, I don't have anybody, but I would marry Jolly, my dog.
All right.
So it's just absurd. So after he just killed, let's say he kills about 15 people.
Jesus Christ.
None of whom are really in any way connected to the bad guy.
Oh.
And then, so they finally figure out where the bad guy is. So you're expecting at this point there's going to be this grand resolution, grand revelation of who the bad guy is and why all this happened.
It's a dog. The dog did it himself.
So they get to the dog did it. No. So they get to the bad guy's house, and this strangely cowboy guy, like he has these golden plated boots and like a curly Q mustache and eating milk and cookies. And then when homeboy gets to the front door, it's like, we got some talking to do. So he goes in, door closes behind him, camera pans out, you hear 2 gunshots, movie ends. That's it. There's no explanation to why it happened, or even a big climactic conversation. It's just like, he kills the fucker dead, and that's an hour and a half of just like tomfuckery. And the thing is, Oscar Isaac, even though he's like this tag-along character, puts in a really good performance.
You acting like he was pretty much the main character. As in, like, the way he was acting, it was so good that he became the main character.
Essentially, like, because the actual main character, he's just really sort of dour and flat. And it's just sort of like, anybody that gets in my way is just going to get rubbed out. And Oscar is just kind of like, he kind of has like his own sort of trajectory. It's like, he's my cousin. He helped me out when I was in jail and I was going through all my mental health issues. So like, I need to help him. I owe him. And he's like constantly trying to like, hey, don't do this. Maybe let's not do this. But he ends up just kind of getting drug along anyway. But he has like some really nice, some nuance. There's definitely some whack, some other just sort of weird, silly shit. But I think for what the movie is worth, he does really good. So super cut of Oscar Isaac just being drug around in this insanity. That'd be worth to watch for sure. If you want to watch a movie that's just really weird for just no good reason. I think that's recommended for a group to just to sit down and shit talk. And the second movie is called Mojave, which is also on Netflix. This movie is a bit more questionable in terms of performance, but I don't think it's his fault, because the majority of this movie is about a suicidal artist who goes off into the desert. He literally drives out in the desert and flips his Jeep. So he's like, I'm so fed up of Hollywood and all the bullshit. So he just drives it in the desert and just like wrecks his car and just starts walking. And then Oscar Isaac turns up as a drifter and starts talking to him. And to describe how Oscar Isaac sounded in this movie, he's doing a very good impression of Michael Keaton from Beetlejuice. Just a weird, throaty growl.
Okay.
And he said, and if you took a shot or a drink every time Oscar Isaac says brother in this movie, you'd be flat in her ass about halfway through. Because that's like his vocal anime tick where he just says brother at the end of every sentence. Like, he says brother so much Hulk Hogan would blush.
Oh, wow.
And the thing is, the whole movie is kind of like the suicidal artist runs afoul Oscar Isaac's drifter character, and the whole movie's like this weird cat and mouse game where like there's like this weird reflection of each other. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, there's a lot in the movie where just nothing happens, and then they make up for that with just like a lot of talking.
Yeah.
But like every extended bit of dialogue is just horseshit.
Okay.
Like, it's all like I couldn't repeat anything they said because they're just going a mile a minute, and it's just like this pseudo intellectual gibberish.
Oh,
like
fine.
it all sounds smart. None of it means a goddamn thing.
Yeah, I know
Pat,
what you mean.
just don't get it.
But there's an especially funny bit when they have like their first confrontation after their incident in the desert. So they go to an empty bar where it's just, you know, the two of them and a bartender, and they have like this, I swear, movie's worth of dialogue within 10 minutes. And the whole time I'm thinking, they just asked the bartender for a glass of water, and he's been gone for over 10 minutes. So I'm just thinking the bartender is just standing there awkwardly while these two are just like jabbering nonsense at each other.
Jesus Christ. That sounds like hell.
It's not actually that bad. I think it's funny to watch just to see the gobbledygook of it.
Yeah.
And if you're horny for Oscar Isaac, he's in a pink thong for a good third of
Wait
it.
a minute.
Oh, okay.
Their final confrontation in the movie is actually, looks neat.
Yeah.
It's still silly and overly talkative, but I think it's way too navel-gazely for its own good.
Yeah.
But it's just so absurd. It should be watched just to hear the dialogue because none of it makes sense.
Yeah.
There's a bit where Oscar Isaac's talking about comparing humanity to cobwebs. Man, it's cobwebs. I'm like, whatever the fuck that means.
That sounds like some weird
And
shit.
because Oscar Isaac's like this antagonist, and like there's only really one scene of him like digging through the clues and trying to find out where Homeboy is, the main character. You only see that once, but then literally every other time he just fucking teleports and appears, just turns up every time just fine. There's literally a time where main character's just walking in the house, Oscar Isaac teleports behind him and beats some blue with an axe handle. Also, Marky Mark's in this movie.
Okay.
Walter Goggins is in the movie too. And the first time you see him, he's on a phone call with the main character, and he's like in his tidy whities and like high rise socks. And the thing is, he doesn't do jack shit in this movie. He just wears a white suit and just sort of like stands vacantly to the side smoking a cigarette. And that's the extent of his role.
I just remember when you were watching that movie, like I came out of my room and all I hear is Walter Goggins.
Because it's a shock. Mark Wahlberg's in it for some reason. He's like a producer who's exasperated at everything. But like he's got an old phone and a bunch of hoes.
Jesus Christ. This sounds like if Neil Breen made a somewhat competent movie.
I don't think that's possible.
Me either. I'm just saying in the hypothetical reality where that might happen.
So that was my Oscar Isaac a movie hole. If you want to see the opposite end of his career, I think it's worth.
Yeah, I was going to say those movies don't sound very good.
But they do
sound
fun.
fun though.
There's a difference between good and fun, and a movie cannot be good, but it can still be fun.
Yes.
Mojave's on Netflix, and Revenge for Jolly's on Voodoo.
Yeah, check it out on doo-doo.
Alrighty. Originally, I just had one suggestion, but then I remembered a couple other things. So one movie, or this is a short film that's on Vimeo. It's called Sunspring. It's 9 minutes. It's real short, and the entire gist of it was the script was written by an AI, and it is about what you would expect for a script written by an AI. It has the main guy from Silicon Valley.
Oh
in it,
yeah,
Okay.
Tom
but
Beanie.
yeah,
I just know his social media thing.
it's really funny. Check that one out. And another movie I've been screaming at everybody to watch since I saw it was a South Korean film by old boy director Park Chan-wook, The Handmaiden. It's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it's on Prime.
Yeah, and it is wild. Whenever you think you have caught up with a movie, it actually the movie is like 2 miles ahead of you. Like I don't know how to describe it. It is just a wild fucking movie that takes so many twists and turns that you don't see coming. And there's one scene in particular where you see it from one character's perspective, and it's like, okay, and then you see it from the other character's perspective, and it goes on and on and on, and it's fucking great. But yeah, it's like
Because it's a bit of a period piece, right?
yeah, it's based off of an English novel called what is it called? Like The Fingersmith or something like that. And The Handmaidens, it's set in like 1930s Japan, and this woman who works for this guy who's kind of a con artist is hired to basically be the handmaiden for this Japanese heiress of the aristocracy. And that's all I'm going to say, because like I said, it is fucking crazy. It's one of my favorite movies. Check it out.
That's one of the movies that I plan to check out, because you and Cody talk about it a whole lot.
Yeah, because we watched it together, and like I said, there was multiple points where we were screaming just because of how just fucking crazy it is. And then for the movie I actually just finished watching maybe a couple hours ago, it's on Netflix. It's I'm trying to remember how to pronounce this fucker's name. Denis Villeneuve film, Enemy.
Oh yeah, with the
With
creepy boy.
Denis Villeneuve.
Jake Gyllenhaal. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's... I don't know how I feel about it. I do recommend people watch it because it's something. And I'm not going to go into spoilers too much, just because it is definitely one of those movies it works better if you have no idea what's going on. But the premise of the movie is Jake Gyllenhaal plays a history professor at a university, and he happens to come across this movie where he sees a guy in it that looks just like him, and apparently it is an actor who lives in the same city as him, and like I said, it looks just like him, and they meet up, and yeah, it's like I said, I don't know how I feel, because I will say it is definitely not for everybody. It's really, really slow. It's only an hour and a half, but it feels like 3 hours. And that's not necessarily a criticism, because I think that's part of the point. It's just really methodically paced, and the entire time you're just tense because it's like, oh fuck, what's going to happen? Also, this movie's really yellow.
I was about to say,
like really fucking yellow.
The cover, because I have it on my Amazon wish list. The cover is like yellow with like, I think red font, like a red like big font that says enemy, and that's the thing about Villeneuve, is that a lot of his films, the way he uses color is like an important part of that film, of how he, specifically
definitely
Blade Runner 2049 and Sicario. Sicario was depth tunnel, but the use of color in that film was very very present, because that's his film style.
Yeah, and I think this is actually might be the first film I've seen from him, which, at least from the impression I've got with his other films, this is definitely an outlier. This is at least how where he's situated in my mind, and it could change when I see the rest of his movies, but he sits in sort of the in between mainstream Hollywood film and art piece, and it seems like he's able to juggle those both really well. This is full on the art piece side.
I can understand that. He's definitely in the middle right there.
Yeah, and he's definitely very moody. The final, like the final shot of the movie, it ended, and I was like, okay, that happened. Okay. What?
Why are you screaming?
It was. Oh man, it was. I'm still reeling from it, and it's one of those things. I think I like it. I think I do, but I don't know, because I remember like coming out of the movie and just being like, okay,
all right,
that was a movie, but it's like I said, I think I do enjoy it overall. Like it's definitely not for everyone, but it is on Netflix, and like I said, it's an hour and a half, and even though it feels longer than that.
Yeah.
You know, it's not too much of a wait, too much of your time, and I recommend
it. If anyone wants to check out any of Villeneuve's work, he has done the movie Arrival, fantastic. He's done Prisoners, fantastic. He's done Blade Runner 2049, fantastic. And he's done Sicario.
My favorite movie of all time, please watch it.
Which is also fantastic. His lineup of movies, those 4 right there, are just like top notch. Like, go watch those 4, and then, like Jonathan said, if you want to watch Enemy, go watch Enemy. I definitely want to watch it.
Yeah, I gotta watch it eventually. It's one of the few of his movies that I kind of like don't want to watch immediately because I know how I'm probably gonna feel about it, which is gonna be it's okay, but I will watch it.
Yeah, that was sort of like my impression when I came out of it. Was like, okay, it is a movie that makes you work. Like, it is very metaphorical, and it is not literal. And I was reading some interpretations of the movie. It's not even in chronological order. Yeah, it is a very... And the thing is like, when I came out of the movie, it's like, okay, I see mostly what you're trying to do. Maybe not entirely, but it was like, I don't know if I want to put in the effort to actually dig into it, you know? Because there's a lot of movies, like, you'll watch and you'll be drawn in, and it's like, oh, man, I want to, really analyze this, dig into it, see what it's about. And this one, I definitely didn't come out of that immediately wanting to do that. I definitely want to sort of look at what people have to say about it. But yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, check it out. It's on Netflix.
Let me finish my list now. I've got 5 more for my Netflix recommendation. For number 6 is a movie that I believe we've all seen. I think. I don't remember if Jonathan was there, but Dallas Buyers Club. Yeah,
I have not seen it.
Yeah, that was from one of our banter weekends.
Dallas Buyers Club is about an electrician that contracts AIDS and proceeds to learn how to smuggle drugs into the U.S. for people that suffer from AIDS.
Experimental drugs that haven't been approved by the FDA. So he's trying to he smuggles them in, to help with people who are suffering from AIDS and HIV with their treatment.
And this was, and it's set during the AIDS crisis in the 80s, right? Yeah, so the government definitely was definitely letting people die.
And it shows it in the movie as well. With they got Matthew McConaughey, which he is the main character, and they got Jared Leto, which Jared Leto is actually really good in this movie. Yeah, I don't remember the name of the character he plays, but very good. It's based on real events as well, so it's a biopic. Yes. Check out Dallas Buyers Club.
Wait.
Number 7.
I will say, though, with Dallas Buyers Club, be careful. There is some strong language in there, especially from Matthew McConaughey's character, because he is a heterosexual male, and when he contracts this disease, it's something.
Yeah, it's
yeah. And you kind of have to go into realizing it's a movie set in the 80s, so there's definitely going to be
Doesn't
some
reflect.
language that today
but-
wouldn't be
but, you know,
would be
Yeah.
inappropriate.
Again, we're focusing on this person, this character. So, you know, there has to be something there. But go ahead.
Number 7 is The Gift, starring Jason Bateman. Totally not redoing this. So, Jason Bateman plays the main character. He plays a man that just got married, and they moved into this nice house. And they get a visitor at the grocery store one day. It's it's a weird dude that just like comes up and he's creepily hovering behind him type person, and he comes to realize this is someone from his past. So he's like, "Oh, I don't really recognize you, but you recognize me, so I'm going to play along with this." And he comes to find out this guy is somebody that he's wronged in the past. It's 25 years ago, and some crazy things happen throughout the movie. It's definitely worth a watch. I don't want to go into too much detail in this one because it's kind of like a thriller horror in a way, and I don't want to like say the spoilers for that. But The Gift is the title, so you can get something.
I remember this came out in 2015. I remember seeing the trailers for this like everywhere. Yeah, it's as he said it. You know, if you look at the letterbox page, there's a dude holding a gift. That's the cover.
For the rest of these, it's kind of like I don't want to spoil situation, because the next one is a Safdie Brothers movie that's also on Netflix. It's called Good Time. It is just like Uncut Gems, not story wise, but like the way your anxiety is at its max level the whole time. I don't want to say anything for the story. I don't want to even introduce it, because it is crazy, and you should definitely check it out. If you liked Uncut Gems, you will like this movie.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch that one.
Yeah.
And speaking of Uncut Gems, it'll be officially streaming on Netflix May 25th.
Oh,
Okay.
So if anybody's endeavored to go back down that ride again and just have your nerves completely blown out,
good.
Yeah, I'm not ready to start flapping for 15 minutes.
and we
afterwards.
saw that in January, and like still feeling it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, it's got Robert Pattinson. He's really, really good in this movie as well. Number 9 is Sturgill Simpson presents Sound and Fury. It's
Oh wait, is that
yeah.
the
It's-
album?
Yes, it's an album, but it's also a music video. It's like what is it called? Interstellar 5555 by Daft Punk, where they created a music video around the whole album, and it is very, very, very beautiful. It has a bunch of studios working on it, like how Love, Death, and Robots does, where they had like a bunch of studios doing different stories. They did the same thing for this, and it's really, really good. It's got beautiful visuals throughout the whole movie, but I will say some of the music is not to my taste. I'm not a big fan of a good bit of the music, but
Yeah, I was about to say
Because
he had
Sturgill
an
Simpson's a
album
country
last-
artist,
I
right?
don't know if it was last year or the year before, but it was a country album, I think. But I think one of the big things about it was a Christian country album, something like that. And then he came out with this, which was more on the side of rock. So
yeah, it was more on side of rock. Plus, there's like nothing religious in this. It's about like samurai going through like a weird post-apocalyptic world. It's nothing like his other
I mean, that was
stuff
just
then.
one album that I know of that was like that.
Yeah. Still, check it out. Very good. Only 40 minutes. And like 9 minutes of that 40 minutes is credits, so check it out. And the last movie that I'm going to talk about is The Ritual. Absolutely fantastic horror movie.
Yeah.
About a group of friends that go into the wilderness. I can't remember what continent or what area.
It's in
I
Sweden.
want to say it's either Norway or Sweden.
It's in Sweden, and
Sweden.
some crazy stuff goes on. You can tell by the name
Yeah.
Ritual that some wacky
they
stuff
go,
happens there.
Hold on, because
And just to say, because we watched that, it was you, me, and Wenzel and Tanner one night, and that movie's sort of tone and sort of like the general sort of like spooky horror vibes clash so hard with what else we watched that night, because we watched Keanu, the Key and Peele cat movie, and Hachi's Tale about the American adaptation of the story of the dog that waited for its owner after.
It was an animal
he
movie
died,
night.
with Richard Gere, and jumping between those two movies and then The Ritual, it's just like whiplash. You have like, oh no, a sad dog. After the movie, after you saw that, ate ice cream and just had to feel better. They go back to watch just weird, scary movie.
I had seen The Ritual because it came out in 2017, and I'm trying to think when we got together to watch that. It was sometime either 2019 or 2018. Because I've been telling everybody to watch it, so I was like, you know what, right now, let's watch it right now. It's late at night, let's watch it. And it's based off a book by let me see, Adam Neville. And now I've recently decided to look into, because I bought one of his other books, but I decided to look into that book, The Ritual, and people do not like that book. Because
Really?
from what I understand, it's vastly, not because, I'm not saying like as a comparison between the movie and the book. I know people like who have like I've looked at people who've read the book who I don't think I've ever heard the movie. They just read the book and they just hate it because it's very, very sexist. But the thing is that when I saw that, I was like, wow, the movie is completely different from the book, because there is nothing like that in the movie. So I recommend you go check out the movie. The movie's very, very good. It's like we said, it's a horror movie about four hikers, college hikers, going into a mountainous forest area of Sweden as part of a trip. And that's all you need to know. Very good.
Yeah. All these movies that I talked about on Netflix, check them out. They're very good. And you don't really have anything better to do. You're locked inside doing your thing.
Watch some good movies.
Just watch some good movies.
Well, we got a lot of very strong recommendations, from the sad to scary. It's about time we go back to the weird, because not too long ago, Jonathan and I, we watched the movie at my suggestion. It's on Hulu, and it's called Lowlife. Now, when I first saw this movie, I thought, okay, this is like this weird, like Pulp Fiction-esque dark comedy. And let's just say the final product is markedly different in tone from that trailer I saw.
Yeah, like, I don't even know how to describe this movie. It is, like, because I remember we finished it, and me and Pat kind of sat for, like, about 30 minutes and talked about how it just made us super uncomfortable. And we couldn't really put a pinpoint onto why. Yeah, there were a few things that we could be like, that was weird, but it was just like, and it's not like the good uncomfortable, where it was like you watch a horror movie and it's like, ooh, or like Uncut Gems, where you're just like anxiety ridden the whole time, but it's really.
Is it like no. Thanksgiving and your uncle says something very bad, uncomfortable?
It's like it's like Thanksgiving, and your uncle doesn't say something super bad, but it's definitely questionable.
Okay.
Because just to give an idea, like I said, it's sort of told through different POVs. Like it very much in the Pulp Fiction sort of vein, is that there are these different overlapping vignettes where you're giving one portion of the story, and the next portion of the story sort of happens simultaneously, and it's sort of everything's all connected, but you're not giving the whole story at once. It's sort of like as the movie progresses, the different characters sort of through their different perspectives give you entire narrative.
Yeah, and a lot of times you'll, like, at the end of one person's perspective, you'll have a scene and you'll see it through their eyes, and then it will jump back to the other people who are a part of that scene, and it shows how they got to that point and their perspective on that scene. And it just kind of does that like 3 or 4 times.
And the first vignette is from the perspective of a luchador named El Monstro, excuse me. And he's sort of like this strange vigilante from a very long lineage of luchadors and social vigilantes. So like he's this masked wrestler who's apparently the last of his line, and he's sort of fallen on hard times. Like he accidentally killed someone in the ring, and now he's sort of being used as like a strongman for like a local, I guess,
Drug.
kingpin.
Yeah.
And
like the way they talk about him, he's like the runt of the litter. He's like, especially his dad was this like massive dude, and apparently he's like super small, but he also super jacked. There's definitely some dissonance with that story.
because you definitely get the idea, like, obviously it's set in like a real world, so like he's this masked wrestler who's sort of a hitman, strongman, vigilante. He's like, but at least my interpretation, he seems like he's extremely mentally ill and he's being taken advantage of by this kingpin. He has like this thumb over him, and he's sort of serving him out of this misplaced sense of, I guess, appreciation that he's given like a purpose. But his sort of main flaw is that he goes into like these blind berserker rages where he'll like freak out over somebody and just wake up and just carnage.
Yeah, and not only is the moments before he goes into a rage pretty comical, like just like the face he makes is just like, oh my god, this is unintentionally hilarious.
Like he'll just scream, but the sound will cut out, so it's just him like there's no volume of him yelling, and then boop, he just wakes up on the floor, and then all of a sudden there's either broken furniture or dead people.
Yeah,
because like because his first sort of blackout, he's trying to get money from this guy who shorted the kingpin, and he goes to like the dude's daughter's quinceañera, and he starts talking shit, and then he freaks out, wakes up in the carnage, and he sees that he killed the guy, but he like literally smashed the dude's head into pulp with like a propane tank.
Yeah, and the movie is weirdly violent, like and like. I don't know. Usually, like in a lot of movies, like I really like violent movies, blood, gore. Doesn't bother me. But there was something about the violence in this movie that made me really uncomfortable.
Because that's one of the things that's really sort of hard to wrap around the movie, because like there's a lot about the movie that's sort of just like really silly and like madcap that kind of captivates you, but what keeps you from like really, I guess, sinking in is just like how dark and sort of uncomfortable the rest of the movie is, because the movie is very much like oil and water with some of the stuff it tries to do, because the silly stuff like the luchador who blacks out, and like the kingpin and how just silly and over top he is, and then like the other miscellaneous characters that we'll definitely get to, is that because like,
that just flashed back into my mind, and I was like, oh god damn it, we got to talk about that.
Yeah, just one character, but we'll get to in due time. Don't worry. Is that all the weird, silly stuff clashes so hard with just the deeply dark underbelly of the movie, where like the kingpin's like involved in not only sexual human trafficking, but also organ theft.
Yeah, but the movie, it tries to have its cake and eat it too, where it tries to play it seriously, but also a quirky, like early Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
Where, this is fun, but
It kind of just makes the silly stuff seem like so out of place when especially there's a moment where El Monstro is leading someone down to the basement of the kingpin's lair to like let him have sex with this woman they have captive. Part of El Monstro's sort of character is that he feels conflicted for not helping the downtrodden like his family members. Like he literally like for a second like contemplates suicide and then just walks it off. But like it's really jarring when it happens, because like some of the uncomfortable stuff is really uncomfortable, because this is like some of the worst things that people do.
Yeah, and if you haven't realized by now, a huge content warning.
For sure.
Yeah, and then the movie tries to make El Monstro they try to make him sympathetic, but he is knowingly complicit in all of this, and I can sort of get where it's like, well, a lot of people when they're stuck in situations like that, they think that's the only option they have, blah blah blah. But I don't know, it was just. But then I think where they lost me with this character is one of his berserker rages he goes on is with his pregnant wife, and we come to find out later he didn't physically hurt her, but it was still like the implication of that is really uncomfortable. And I keep saying that, but it's trying to make you sympathize with this guy who is a domestic abuser.
Because even if he never like actively or intentionally hurt her, just the idea that he's just a time bomb that could go off at any moment, that still creates an unhealthy environment for a partner.
Oh well, and then and it's just how he doesn't really give a shit about her. He's only caring about the baby the entire time because he's like, my legacy, and it's like
he's trying to redeem his family lineage because like for what his ancestors have done and what he's sort of failed to do. So like I have to recoup my family's losses with my child. So his wife is sort of like a means to the end, and then like and the wife is connected to the next main character in the vignette, which is this manager of a very poor hotel motel, and she's a former addict, and she's trying to raise money for a back alley kidney transplant for her addict husband. And we find out that the El Monstro's wife is the child of the two addicts that they gave up years ago, and she asked the kingpin to essentially kidnap that pregnant woman, take her kidneys, so the addict's husband can get the transplant and live.
Yeah, but the kingpin tells her that the daughter's okay with it, but she really doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't even know her parents exist, and if it sounds confusing, that's because it is. and so they. And then the husband eventually finds out, she's like, oh, I'm going to get you a kidney. And he's kind of resigned to his fate because he's in renal failure. And he's like, just don't give me hope. I've already kind of come to terms with the fact I'm going to die. And then shenanigans happen. He finds out who the donor's going to be, which was their daughter that they gave up because they were raging alcoholics, and he ends up committing suicide. And this is number 2 where I felt really uncomfortable because it shows the aftermath in a way that it was really rough to see.
Because you have like this sort of another cake and eat it moment too, where it's like they want to like, hey, we want to show like how good like our special effects, how our gore budget. But it's like it's the result of a suicide. So like this weird spectacle scene. So it's because like the woman walks in on her husband post-suicide, and then of course she's obviously horrified at this scene. And you're sort of like, this is definitely a weird choice.
Yeah, so she goes and tries to find her daughter to warn them about
what's about to happen.
About what's about to happen. I'm just trying to embrace myself for what happens next. So, and there's a reason we're going bit by bit, just because I don't think I recommend this movie, but I gotta tell somebody about this movie.
I was gonna say that for the end. It's like I'm not sure I recommend it, and if I do, it's like a very cautious recommendation. But like it's just so bizarre, like I have to talk about it because like I have had to live with what I saw the last couple of weeks now.
Okay, so she tries to tell her daughter that, hey, run from this guy. He's going to take your kidneys. So she finds her daughter, and she's about to get out of the car to help her. But then another car pulls up, and these two assailants kidnap the daughter. And the one guy is normal. He's just a normal guy. But then the next guy is a guy in a blue jumpsuit, shaved head, and a swastika tattooed on his face.
And not just like a little one, like it's across his entire face.
Right. That was just sort of what we said was, wait, okay.
And that jumps to the third vignette, is what's about the two kidnappers.
And then the normal guy is black, so there's this weird like, okay, how did that happen? But then they explain it. Because
the two guys they were like lifelong friends, and then the white guy went to jail for several years, and then his friend goes to pick him up after jail, and he realizes he has this big tattoo across his face, and he's like, "Hey man, I just did this to get perfection in jail because no one's gonna fuck with me if I had this tattoo. But then he didn't think like, oh, he's gonna have that for the rest of his life. And so like, but the weird thing is that the white guy, he's like a Jamie Kennedy level character in like Malibu's Most Wanted, super try hard white wannabe gangster dude. If someone was doing a parody of like early Eminem, that's essentially what this character would be.
Yeah, and so like, and apparently he had like all of his friends and stuff are in the black community, and then I think at one point he gets jumped because he has a fucking swastika tattooed on his face.
Yeah, there's this weird moment where he like tries to say, "Oh, the black guy is being racist for talking and thinking a certain way," and then 30 seconds later, the white dude is getting just stomped out by the Hispanic residents of this neighborhood.
Yeah, and then only then does he regret having the swastika tattoo. Only then, and like Pat was saying, like just this character is like he's in a Tom Green movie. He's acting like he's Tom Green.
Like it feels like he's a cartoon character. And when there's parts of this movie that feel like painfully real, like when we're at the woman's the manager's like at her hotel, like he's just in this very very poor part of Los Angeles, and sort of like that ground level like impoverished neighborhood feels so like
gritty and real,
like just stark and kind of hopeless because like a lot of people there are like illegal immigrants, and she saw like an ICE operative just cart a bunch of them away to be essentially sold into slavery or use their organs for harvest because the ICE guy works for the kingpin. So you have like this very like this. It's like you have these really weird, uncomfortable, real moments, like just episode with just fucking insanity.
Yeah, just with the guy with the fucking swastika for her face, and then we haven't really talked about the kingpin much. But if I could describe this guy, it's just greasy. He's just fucking greasy. He's really like sleazy and slimy, and I guess that makes sense because you have to have someone evil enough to contrast with everybody else.
It's like no one's really like a sympathetic character, but like you have to be able to follow along with them enough to care about what they're doing. So you made the bad guy the worst bad guy they can think of in this movie.
Yeah, so kind of speeding it along due to shenanigans. All these characters kind of converge at the motel, and then it's like, oh, it's just a misunderstanding, because one thing I forgot to mention was the black guy and the swastika guy. They eventually, because they get hired by the kingpin guy to kidnap the daughter of the woman who owns the motel. God,
El Monstro's wife.
El Monstro. It's trying to keep track with all this shit.
You'll need
stupid.
like a spider web just to connect everybody.
Yeah, I feel like Charlie Day and Always Sunny. But so they finally, they kidnap her, but then they're like, oh, this is kind of fucked. We're not going to do it. And so after misunderstandings, they all come to understanding. Like, okay, let's try to help this poor woman out. Then old kingpin guy shows up, basically intimidates him, takes back the girl, the woman, and then just pulls out a fucking like assault rifle and tries to mow them down in the building. But the only guy who gets hit is the black guy. And he gets shot in the arm, and it does not look lethal at all.
Like he just got tagged. Like he just said it was like, oh, I got shot. So they all hop in the manager's van and just speed off to catch the kingpin and just figure out what their next plan. But then the black guy dies from like this seemingly shallow arm wound, and just like he dead. And then there's just like, oh shit. Well, he died for no real reason. So it's time to fuck some shit up.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the darkest moment in the script.
But you're just left scratching your head.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, because he literally dies in Nazi Boy's arms, and it's like, and he's like, oh, my best friend, why you die?
That's weird.
But hey, he makes it very clear he's not.
but Colt, he's not racist. Like,
he makes it very clear that he's not racist.
So they go back to the little underground lair of the Kingpin, and they end up setting the sex slaves free, and they end up fighting with
the Kingpin and then his hired squad.
Yeah, one who's an ICE officer. And just this whole scene, it made me question, well, okay, so if the black guy died from one shot to the arm, how the fuck does El Monstro, like, the Kingpin literally takes a snub nose and unloads it into this guy's chest?
Like, there's one point where he's literally shot, like, in the heart. He gets shot, like, 6 times. But El Monstro is, like, the key character has, like, his historic resolve, because we buried the lead a little bit, because all this, chaos and excitement makes the wife give birth.
Oh, yeah.
So there's like this, it's like they have to give birth in this meat locker, and El Monstro is like, "Hey, oh my baby, my son," and he's like, "Yeet!" and he just runs out the building. It's like, my legacy is secured.
What?
And then the other three are just like, "What the fuck?" And that's when all the hired guns showed up and just like they start like shooting up the
meat locker. This movie's fucking nuts.
But El Monstro comes to his senses and just like, oh, I gotta save everybody. So he goes back down and tries to do like a one-man army thing. Doesn't quite work out. And there's an uncomfortable moment where the manager fights the ICE agent to save her newfound daughter. We just have this really long, uncomfortable scene of essentially a police officer strangling a black woman to almost to death.
Yeah.
This is probably the most uncomfortable part of the movie.
Yeah, I would totally agree, because and when we say it's long, it's minutes long.
Like, you literally think that she's about to die.
Yeah, but then she gets saved. I don't remember how, and at this point, it's just like...
You're just thankful it's over.
I'm just thankful it's over. So, El Monstro, after getting fucking blasted in the chest multiple times, he gets up, he beats old Greasy Boy to death with his hands.
I mean, and by to death, we mean he turns his head into like a puddle of red pudding.
Yeah, and it does not cut away at all. So then El Monstro finally does croak out, because, he got shot that many times. So he dies, but his legacy lives on.
Not in the baby, because he realizes he doesn't want a life of crime and uncertainty and violence for his newborn child. So instead, the white wannabe gangster
with a swastika for a face
takes up El Monstro's mantle and wears the mask, thus covering his shameful tattoo and giving him new purpose to turn his life around. So he gets in the vans and takes all the freed women to safety, and then the manager and her newfound daughter and newfound grandchild can restart their lives as a new whole family.
And that's how it ends.
And then we just sat in silence for a good bit and just sort of like tried to piece together what the hell we just saw.
This sounds terrible. It doesn't sound
is.
like usually with some wacky over the top movies, I will be like, okay, I want to check this out. I don't at all. Don't want to.
I mean, just look up the guy with the swastika.
Oh, I
for
did.
a face.
It looks
and
stupid.
Yeah. And the thing is, like,
but now he's a luchador.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, we are both just sort of weirdly unsure about everything. We both gave it like a 2 out of 5, because just kind of like, this is the only thing we can think to do. But what's more curious is that the movie is pretty well reviewed. Like, just looking at its letterbox, it has a lot of 3 to 4 star reviews, and
Yeah.
we're just kind of strangely flummoxed.
Well, I'm like, how could anyone see this movie and think it is any sort of good? And there's not even to say that there's like everything in the movie is bad. Like, it's actually, for like a semi-amateur like independent film, it's shot really well.
Yeah, the movie looks good and has obviously some very strong production value. I just kind of feel like if they had chosen one of the two paths, either make this starkly real and go with there, or just take the madcap route and go there, I feel like it tried to do both and it didn't do either well.
Exactly. So yeah, it's on Hulu. Don't watch it. We basically just told you the entire plot, so you don't have to watch it.
So
So, I mean, and that's why we're explaining it, because,
Thank you.
We take the hit so you don't have to.
yeah, we died for
Yeah,
your
thank
sins.
you, Jesus.
So,
But don't worry, after that experience, we're going to take it back up.
okay.
We're going to end on a high note, or at least a more happier note, because my final movie that I watched today, I actually watched on probably an off-kilter streaming source. I watched it on Canopy.
Oh, okay.
And Canopy, for those who don't know, is a free streaming service that's available for anyone who has an active student ID or a public library card. And our public library recently spread this around on their Twitter, and like Wenzel talked about, because he goes to a university and he has access to this. So I checked it out with my active library card. And Cites, that's one of the things I missed. Everything being shut down, the quarantine. I love going to the library, and that's one of the places I hope to go back to once all this is over.
Nerd.
Fuck off.
So I started my Canopy account, and this is a great resource. It's a free access to like all of these like documentaries and like foreign films and high-end pieces of cinema.
Yeah, and they have a vast majority of the Criterion collection on there as
They
well.
do. They have a lot of the Criterion movies, and they have a special playlist this month because apparently it's, if I get this right, Pacific Asian American Heritage Awareness Month.
Hey, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
So they have a whole playlist that's full of documentaries and Criterion level films from what I saw on that list, mostly Japan, China, and Korea. So you have like Akira Kurosawa on there, Park Chan-wook. They're all on there.
Yeah.
It's a great list. So I'm on this platform of erudition and entertainment.
All right.
So naturally, I pick a movie called Wolf Guy to watch.
Sounds good.
Okay. Wolf Guy.
Wolf Guy, which is 1975. I guess it's like I don't know quite how to explain it. It's directed by Kazuhiko Yamaguchi. It's about an hour and a half long, and it's, I guess, in a style of like sort of the sensationalist, hardboiled detective films from the 1970s. And it's about a reporter, like a freelance reporter named Akira Inugami, who is secretly the last living scion of a group of wolf descendants, the Inugami clan, who his entire family was killed by hunters 30 years ago in the woods. And Akira Inugami is played by the famous Japanese actor Sonny Chiba. Mm-hmm. And so that's how the movie opens. That's his flashback. And he goes to him being like this slightly private eye, slightly reporter. So he meets this young man screaming in the streets, and the people trying to figure out what's wrong with him. And then he abruptly dies due to these invisible claw marks. Like he's just ripped to shreds in the streets. So just so you know, this is a very sensationalistic, very gory, very sexy movie.
Thanks,
So
Pat.
just get that out of the way. There's going to be a lot of blood and a lot of titties in this movie. So just
Sounds
watch
good.
out.
Tig old biddies.
So he sees this man die, and he gets like this vision of a tiger. And to do this really cool thing where he's like confronted with these deaths, like they have like these heat waves that kind of show up in front of his face, and before he sees like this pastiche of a tiger stock footage. Mm-hmm. So it sort of to signify like he's have some sort of resonance to what this experience is. So he gets like a hot tip from his inside man, and they go to investigate because apparently this guy that died, he's not the first one that's died like this. He's died through like these brutal, invisible slashes. So they find like this heroin addict. He knows like he knows this thing because apparently it's all connected to this woman named Miki, because this guy and his bandmates, they sexually assaulted this woman and they gave her syphilis, and they think that she's responsible for their deaths. Like this is like her like revenge. And so before they can get press the informant for more information, they get jumped by the Yakuza. So it's up to Sonny Chiba to distract him, so he just starts whipping ass, just like doing flips, punching them, and then he'll pull out one of his wolf moves where he claws a guy in the face. But he gets shot. He has like a very knowing glint to the moon's like, I don't have my wolf powers yet. So he just kind of has to bleed out for a while. So he's managed to slip past the Yakuza, but he almost gets caught. If it weren't for a stranger on a motorcycle, they hop on the bike and they scoot away. And so he gets plopped into this, no kidding, like 1970s love hotel. Spinning bed, bead curtains, and he's just like, huh. And then person takes off her helmet. It's like, huh, I bet you weren't expecting the lady to save you. And it's like, well, I could have guessed. So the main guy, his best friend, gets beat up by the Yakuza. He loses his informant. He gets shot. He almost died at the hand of these organized criminals. And it's like, so my next move is to obviously just go to town on this motorcycle lady. So they have gratuitous sex in the spinny bed. And what I thought was so weird is that she takes his hands and starts sucking all the blood off his hands. It's like, girl, don't do that. That's nasty. So he meets his best friend who he just left to get beat up by the Yakuza for lunch. And he says, hey, I got some more deets for you about this Miki girl. Turns out she's been a lounge singer in all these second-rate strip clubs. So go check that out. So it cuts to like this strip club. You see like this woman, this stripper dressed as a geisha. She starts doing her thing, undressing, and like it's 1975. So when you see that thing, it's all grown out. And then Miki gets her musical number, but before it starts, you just see this flash of pink. Turns out it's the club's logo, which is a vagina, but it's a butterfly.
All right.
And then
Okay.
And then she sings her song, and they throw trash at her because we don't want to hear singing. We want to see the goods. So they go backstage, and where the manager's like giving her a chewing out for singing. Inugami shows up, beats the shit out of the old gross owner, and just like knocks him down, pulls the chair out from under him, and then just sits the chair on top of his big ass and starts trying to talk to Miki. It's like, hey, I'll help you get out of here. She's like, okay, but you got to buy me heroin first. And it's like, all right. So she runs back in the arms of the Yakuza because they were giving her a fix before. He's got to beat up the Yakuza. And then there's a lot of back and forth, and she ends up, her curse activates, so she kills the original informant who turned everybody in. Her curse activates because apparently she was so mad at being sexually assaulted that her dreads turned into like these weird invisible tiger claws that just kill people.
Okay.
So they run off the Yakuza, and he takes her back to I guess her crib because this is just a big picture, like the entire wall is just a picture of her face. So I'm going to guess that's her house.
You know, I have one too.
And he's just like, sit tight, I'm going to figure everything out. They almost have sex, but they don't. Joseph Stryker figures some stuff out, but then he gets back in time for an assassin to almost kill her. He kills the first assassin. Then there's another assassin right behind him. And so they have this big tussle where, like, I got your gun, dude. What are you going to do next? Then the dude just pulls out a mouse from his shirt pocket, throws it across the room, and the dude's like, whoa, was that a mouse? And then he gets a lasso thrown around his neck, and the assassin's just choking him to death. And then another assassin shows up, kills that assassin, and is like, hey, we're part of this secret, shady government organization, and remember that chick that you banged for 10 minutes? Well, she's here now, and we're going to kidnap y'all because we're going to use you for the government. Then the whole plot is revealed that Miki, the girl who has the curse, she was betrothed to a very rich young man whose father is the prime minister. But the father found out that he's just marrying a commoner. And plus, he had already arranged like a big political marriage with the daughter of an entertainment mogul.
Yeah.
So he had the girl sexually assaulted by the band. And then he gave the photos of her assault to his son. He's like, ew, gross. And then they ditched her. So now the government organization's like, hey, we heard this chick's got weird psychic powers, so we're going to turn her into a weapon for the government. So they have her remotely assassinate the CEO of the entertainment mogul and the prime minister on live television.
Okay.
And then they lock up Inugami. Is like, hey, if you work for us, we'll make things good for you. And he's like, fuck you. All right. They dissect him alive. So there's literally footage of someone's like open body cavity surgery kind of to take in the spot that he's being like cut up alive. And also they take one of the assassins and they transfer his wolf blood into him, and just like he's just like slowly metamorphosized. And so full moon rolls around. They never call it the full moon. They call it the 15th day of the lunar cycle. Like somehow that's a copyright they have to get around.
Okay.
And so they literally throw him back in his cell with all of his guts hanging out. So he shines moonlight on himself, and all of his guts just suck back in, and his tummy closes up.
Okay.
So he breaks out of jail, and he gets attacked by the security guard, but they're more so like an acrobatics team, because they're just like popping out of holes and doing flips and rolls the whole time. The most acrobatic like police force you ever seen. Mm-hmm. But then homegirl, who he banged on the motorcycle, she's like, I'm going to help you get out of here. And then as soon as she helps him get out, she gets shot by the assassin who now has wolf powers. And by wolf powers, His hair's all frizzed up like he stuck his finger in a light socket, and he has vaguely kabuki-like makeup.
Okay.
So they have a fight in the rain. They're just like fighting, and they're like jumping. There's like these weird after image effects. And then the assassin randomly dies because he has blood poisoning because he got his blood mixed with the wolf guys. And to show that like he dies in the middle of a thunderstorm, and when he drops dead, to show like his blood killed him, they have blood rain down on him, but the footage is reversed. So like you see like bloody rain, and then it all just zoots back up, and it kind of fades to white. Then he just leaves. Homeboy just leaves, and he's just walking. You know, that was quite an adventure. I'm going to go back to my ancestor's home, and you're thinking, what about Miki? What happened to her? And he literally just said, I guess she'll die.
What the fuck?
All right.
So he gets back to what was the ruins of his ancestral home, and he's like, it's pretty peaceful out here. And then immediately, like 7,500 showed up and just like just starts like lighting up the countryside, and he just hurls himself off a cliff to get away. They're all surround him. It's like you'll never escape us, Wolfman. He's like, want to bet? He jumps like 10 feet in the air and immediately lands in a net. And then he gets captured. But you see like a woman scamper up the hill, all mysterious like. Turns out she's the one girl hunter in the entire group, and she breaks him out. And this is where it takes another turn, because you're thinking like, okay, what's the deal with you, lady? And she's like, hello, Mr. Inagami, my name's Taka. You don't know this, but my mom and your mom were best friends. Apparently, my mom was the only friend the wolf people had. So when they all died, my mom named me after your mom as sort of like token of our family's mutual friendship. It's like, that's nice. Then she's like, you want to have sex? She just gets butt-ass naked. Like, literally, she goes from, like, being fully clothed, the next scene, her tits are out. Just like, boop.
Okay.
So she's just butt-ass naked, and even the main character is just kind of like, look, honey, I just went through a lot right now. Why are your boobies out? And she's like, don't worry about that. And she just mashes her tits in his face. and then, okay. What happens next? Psychoanalysis can have a field day with it. As like his face is mushed in her boobies, he has a flashback to when he was a little kid, fuck. Like very young, being breastfed by his mother.
Oh no!
So he wakes up and he's like sucking on the girl's titty.
No.
and then he's like, I've been reborn in this moment.
Wait.
Wait, what?
Oh my god!
He's like, you giving birth to me. You're my mother. And you're also my wife.
Stop. That's no.
So he just landed there, and he goes back to sucking her titty.
What the literal fuck?
And then there's like 10 minutes left, and I'm like, what the fuck's about to happen? Then the whole mountain just starts fucking blowing up. Like there's a landslide, just explosions everywhere. They're like running out the mountain, trying to get away. Turns out the shadowy government organization somehow found him, and all their guys are just like just blowing up the mountain. So he just goes like wolf mode. He stands there and just eats hot shit from all the bullets and just like starts killing the hell out of these bad guys. Then the leader of the shadow organization throws off a cloak of his Jeep, and it's Miki, the girl he forgot 20 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. And it's like, guess what? She's gonna kill you now because you abandoned her. Then she has a right to be mad at you. And it's like, okay, I did abandon her. I will take this punishment. And they have this weird cycle thing. It's like the government guy's like trying to talk her up. It's like, he abandoned you, kill him. It's like, but I love him. Miki and Taka have like a mutual kill moment. Taka shoots Miki with a shotgun, just like fucking blows her ass away. And then Taka just gets ripped to shreds by the curse, and you see her titties pop out and just blood everywhere.
Because of course.
Because they're both dead. So then Inagami's just like, well, shit. And he kills those two by running their Jeep off a cliff. And you would think it explodes when it hits the bottom. No, it explodes about halfway down the cliff, and it just tumbles in fire all the way down.
Okay.
So he scoops up Taka's dead body, slings her over his shoulder, and then I guess the last shot of the movie is just him throwing her gun off a cliff. So this movie is buck
I
wild.
want to watch it, even though you just said the whole thing. I want to watch it.
Me too. This sounds fucking crazy.
Like, I honestly wish we had got to watch it, because I promise y'all would have been screaming as much as I was. Because like, Jonathan will tell you, I was yelling the whole time.
And he's not lying. Like, I was actually watching Enemy while he was watching this movie, and all I hear is from Pat's room just screaming for like 20 minutes straight.
So obviously, I found a very educational film on Canopy.
Yeah, it sounds like it educated me.
Alrighty. But I looked up the director on Letterboxd, and God, all of his movies look like 70s exploitation movies.
Yeah, there's a lot of like guns and women with like their titties and short skirts and like swords and stuff. So it's very indicative of like the exploitation era of film in the 70s.
Like there's this one I want to see. It's called Sister Street Fighter.
Okay.
And we got this pretty lady in a dress called the Wandering Ginza Butterfly.
Yeah, I saw that one too. It's like, oh, okay.
So there's a lot of naked asses on this one. So yeah, if you're into vain and provocative, I think Kazuhiko Yamaguchi might be up your
Yeah, I
alley.
definitely want to check this dude out because looks fun. Looking at these movie covers now.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get all red faced.
No, my face stays the same color, and that is blood red.
So yeah, those were some movies
So I
we
think
may or may not recommend.
Yeah, I think we ran the gamut today. We have a lot of good, a lot of bad, and a lot of just strange. While you're locked up in quarantine, while you got some time to yourself, I think you have a vast array of movies from what we were able to give you to fill your time with. So I think you'll be, at the very least, intrigued and entertained while you're indoors. So thank you all for listening today. We really appreciate you taking the time and tuning in with us. You can follow us SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any RSS feed. We're there and we're live. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe on all those platforms. That really helps us out, really increases our visibility. You can follow the podcast on social media, on Twitter and Instagram at AYC Podcast, on Letterboxd and Facebook at AllYouCanHear, and Twitch at twitch.tv/AllYouCanHear, and YouTube at AllYouCanHear. And be sure to go back and check the beginning of our month of movies, where we talked about our unpopular favorites, movies that we unabashedly loved, even if the rest of the world may not share our opinions. And I'm Patrick. Thank you again for listening. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at John Lost His Name, and follow my art on Facebook at John Lost His Name Art.
My name is Jonathan. You can follow me on Twitter at JONIIBOI24 and Letterboxd at John Known Sundolf.
My name is Colt. You can follow me on Twitter at ColtD00. Right after this, I plan on watching Apocalypse Now. So that's another movie I'm going to watch.
Oh wow, that's a doozy.
Thank you for listening. I'm Wenzel. You can follow me on Twitter at Wenzel. Follow my art Instagram at World of Wenzy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.